Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. Here are your top stories. Windsor police are asking for more money. We will tell you how much. Plus, parents and students are making noise to reverse cuts at the public school board. And we will tell you how one man has made a name for himself with messages of joy in Amherstburg. Let's begin tonight with policing and how much it costs taxpayers. This will be a big focus of an upcoming police board meeting as Windsor readies for its 2025 budget. Dalton Chen has more.
Windsor Police Service needs more money. How much? An additional $8.2 million in its operating budget. That's the figure that will be presented at a special meeting of the Windsor Police Services Board next week. The amount represents a nearly 8% increase of the police operating budget compared to 2024. According to budget details, the increase is mainly driven by a higher total salary cost, from $74.6 million in 2024 to a proposed $82.7 million in 2025. In the budget highlights, police point to their enhancement of their intimate partner violence team and their expansion of downtown patrols with 12 more officers. Police say they've tried to mitigate the increased costs by reducing overtime, applying for grants, and constantly seeking efficiencies. But the police operating budget continues to grow. From 2023 to 2024, it went from $99 million to $103.5 million. For 2025, the proposed budget is $111.7 million. After next week's meeting, that increase of $8.2 million for Windsor Police will be considered by City Council when it meets in January for budget discussions. Dalton Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
We've told you about the big cuts at the public school board, particularly to the RISE special needs program. Well, now another program is getting attention as parents and students fight to protect it. A couple hundred students staged a walkout at Riverside Secondary School Thursday morning. Backed by supportive parents, they have a clear message: save the International Baccalaureate program. It's an enriched learning program to better prepare students for university. The Board of Trustees decided last week to cut the program across the Greater Essex County District School Board, all part of a larger cut in order to balance a budget with a $6 million deficit. Students say they are disappointed and outraged.
We were so sad. I was in tears that night when they told me they would cancel it. I'm the happiest, and we're all the happiest when we're academically challenged, and we were given that opportunity, and it's being stripped away from us in a blink of an eye. What the public board is telling us is that we're not worth the investment.
And a lot of these kids would actually have to relocate schools if the cuts go through, and that's exactly what they want to stop from happening.
Having to relocate is a little bit crazy in my mind.
If students want to continue their IB studies, they'd have to switch to the Catholic school board. That would be especially painful for Megaze Wright as an Indigenous student, given the role Catholicism played with residential schools.
This is why I chose to stay in the Greater Essex County District School Board.
For other students, like Sophia Facenda, being forced to move away from her friends is very upsetting.
It was insane to me that I had already just gone to a new school and I made all new friends and met a bunch of new people and relationships and stuff, and then have to go and basically start all over again.
Parents like Fachenda's mom, Francine Salinitri, are also putting up a fight by circulating a petition, reaching out to trustees, and lobbying the ministry to intervene.
The main message here is that there's something wrong. There's something wrong when a board has to cut programs that impact the children and not look at other avenues to cut costs. And so we need help.
In a statement to CBC, the Director of Education said the board understands families may have questions and that more communication will be sent out in the coming days. While grade 11 students will not be impacted by the cuts in general will go into effect next year, but families are still hopeful they can save the program. The University of Windsor is looking at a multi-million-dollar budget shortfall next year, and the school president warned staff no one is coming to their aid.
We must adapt with both immediate actions and long-term strategies as an institution. We must face the reality that the status quo cannot be maintained, and we need to figure out together how to do less with less. We are entering a new era of reimagining the University of Windsor where tough decisions lie ahead.
In a town hall meeting with staff, Gordon says the budget will be short $10 million this academic year and $30 million next year. That's because of the cap on international students, the domestic student tuition freeze, and rising costs. It's happening as direct government funding has stagnated. The university warned that layoffs are coming, and Gordon said the university will do, quote, less with less. To get out of the hole, Gordon plans for the university to focus on its key programs and maximize other money coming in. We've got Chris Potter with us now for a quick look at weather. Chris, raining all day as promised. How's it looking into the evening?
Yeah, and don't put the umbrellas away just yet. It does look like we're still going to hold on to that rainfall through much of the evening. The bulk of the organized rainfall is now clearing east of Windsor, but there still is some rainfall potential moving back in from lower Michigan. Temperatures right now anywhere from 5 to 9. There's not going to be a significant drop in those temperatures through the overnight. They'll likely stall in the mid, maybe even the upper single digits. So once again, rain continues to stall across London, Goderich, pretty much the Lake Huron shoreline, and this is all thanks to a system that continues to track well south of the lower Great Lakes. That will continue to clear, and the rain will start to break apart. Overnight, it's going to be cloudy and damp. Local drizzle, maybe a few fog patches. Temperatures stall at around 8, 9 for tomorrow morning, and 11 for the afternoon. It's by the late afternoon, Kat, that we start to see at least some sunny breaks. We'll talk weekend coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks for that, Chris.
You got it.
A local leader is being honored tonight with the Charles E. Brooks Labor Community Service Award. Jody Nesbitt is this year's winner. She's the president of Unifor Local 240 with 30 years of union experience. That local represents workers with the Windsor Salt Mine and Green Shield, among others. The award is named after the late Charlie Brooks, the first president of UAW Local 444, and he was shot and killed by an angry union member in his office in 1977. This honor highlights someone who has had a significant impact on the community. Nesbitt will be celebrated at a ceremony tonight at the Chicharo Club. Windsor's Santa Claus Parade will be downtown again this year with a few special guests. It will feature a St. Clair College team, which just celebrated a historical win, plus a local social media influencer, MD Motivator, also known as Zachary Daranowski. He's gone viral for raising mental health awareness and spreading kindness.
Zach will be here to Grand Marshal the parade, and I know he's working on something very special to really give the gift of Christmas. And to have him at the front of the parade will be a very special moment. And again, to have the Saints in the parade as well, just, you know, how could you go wrong? What a great reason to come to downtown Windsor on December the 7th.
It was just a great opportunity to, appreciate all of the efforts that all of the team did at St. Clair, and have our community really celebrate their success. So what a better opportunity than the Santa Claus Parade to celebrate the team.
The St. Clair Saints were the first college team to ever win the CJFL National Championship on November 9th. They will be honored during the parade, and that's happening December 7th at 6 p.m. Let's turn now to Amherstburg, home of the Sign Guy. For weeks now, Jeremy Barton has walked the downtown core armed with Bristol board and some encouraging words. Here's why he does it.
My name's Jeremy Barton, and I'm the Sign Guy. Me and my mom were talking, and she's like, I'd like you to make some friends. And I'm like, well, I'll just stand outside with a sign. I just started writing, what people need to hear, like have a good day, smile, you're worth it, you're amazing. Like, it's all the stuff we need to hear, right? I learned a long time ago to always you do you, and to never forget who you are. And for a long time when I was sick, I had forgotten who I was for a very long time. I believe everybody, who goes to the CMHA and has the, anxiety, depression, everything else, like those are some of the strongest people you're ever going to meet because they're fighting the battles no one else sees. Even the happiest people can be the saddest on the inside. The sign itself, like this stuff I need to hear too, right? Like everybody needs to hear these things. And just remember, no matter how many mistakes you make in life, they're all lessons. They're not really failures. They're just lessons you had to learn the hard way. It's just nice to see that so many people are supportive and happy that, I'm doing this and everything else. So I'm just enjoying it, and I'm just going to keep doing it until either something else comes along in the path or I do this for the next 10 years, who knows.
A visit from a foreigner has led to a major security operation in Canada's largest city. It is not a political leader or diplomats who have arrived in Toronto, but Taylor Swift, who is performing this week. The CBC's Thomas Daigle has the story.
With this mega concert event comes big-time security, as 500,000 Swifties and visitors descend on Toronto for 6 sold-out shows.
I just hope it's a nice, positive, safe experience for everybody.
It was just 3 months ago that Taylor Swift's tour stop in Vienna was abruptly called off over a foiled ISIS-inspired attack.
Wondering how that has shaped any planning for you.
We are continuously monitoring any potential threats. There are no threats at this time, and we are adequately resourced.
Officers will wear flashing lights to make themselves visible to concertgoers.
This is all in an effort to ensure that we have a safe event.
Consider entrances to major venues like this are often called soft targets.
Soft targets are prone to be in a lot of density in terms of space and area.
Fans without tickets won't even be allowed to stand here outside the stadium on concert days. Organizers are setting up a special perimeter for ticket holders only.
All in an effort to avoid Taylor-gating when crowds sing along from outside.
You have to make sure that they have a safe area to go to, and you're not going to increase the risks by keeping them away from the building.
Toronto police say they consulted with law enforcement in other cities that hosted the Eras Tour.
We had all hands on deck, and we had police covering every intersection.
After deadly concert attacks in Manchester and Las Vegas in 2017, Swift told Elle magazine her biggest fear wasn't for herself. "I was completely terrified to go on tour," she said, "because I didn't know how we were going to keep 3 million fans safe." She's broken touring records since then and lands here next. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Media analysts believe Elon Musk's social media platform X has lost significant users in the wake of the U.S. election campaign and Musk's prominent support for Donald Trump. The CBC's Scott Peterson has the story.
There's been a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about how biased the social media site X has become under Elon Musk. Now that he's the co-head of the government efficiency unit, that he's contributed millions of dollars to Donald Trump's campaign, how biased is he and how biased is the site is a big concern. And we're starting to see a little bit of an exodus to an alternative website, a social media site called Blue Sky. These are some of the facts as we know it, that Blue Sky has, since the election, has gained more than 1.25 million followers. In fact, it now has over 15 million users. That's up from 9 million just in September. And Blue Sky, for anybody that doesn't know, was created by Jack Dorsey. He's the creator of Twitter himself back in 2019. Now, people leaving the site is not the only factor here. We also saw a mass exodus of advertisers, including Disney, Apple, IBM, Paramount, just to name a few. In fact, 50 of the top 100 advertisers in the U.S. have pulled back altogether their advertising. We're also hearing from the Guardian newspaper just a couple of days ago saying that they've closed down their account altogether to quote their long-standing concerns about far-right media conspiracy theories and racist content. Now, you might think that this would upset Elon Musk. He's lost 80% of the value of the site X since he bought it back just 2 years ago for $44 billion. But in the last week since the U.S. elections, shares of Tesla have been up 35%, and that's adding another approximately $50 billion to the net worth of Elon Musk himself. Scott Peterson, CBC News, Toronto.
Thousands of RCMP officers will start wearing body cameras in the coming months. The national rollout will happen in stages. The force says about 90% of frontline members will be using the cameras a year from now. The move is aimed in part at increasing transparency. The RCMP explains when the footage will be used.
And really, it's that balance between, restoring potentially faith in the community with perhaps fact-based information is not coming out of the situation. And that's when the commanding officer would make a determination with the region that the camera or incident happened, and they would weigh that release.
Talks aimed at averting a work stoppage at Canada Post are going down to the wire. The Crown Corporation and the union are still negotiating. Post workers could be off the job as soon as midnight. Both the company and the union have served each other notice of a potential work stoppage, but the corporation says it intends to continue deliveries using methods allowed under the Canada Labour Code, and that includes delivery of government support checks during any contract disruption. Live look outside, and we'll have more on Swifties in Toronto when we come back. Welcome back. We'll have more on how Toronto is getting ready to welcome hundreds of thousands of Taylor Swift fans over the next several days. We also have an update about Canadian soldiers training near NATO's eastern flank. But we begin with the CBC's Evan Dyer, who is covering the Prime Minister's trip to a summit in Peru.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is off to Lima, Peru to attend the APEC summit, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. And the official agenda there, which is Grow, Empower, Include, has been really blown out of the water by the earthquake that's shaken world affairs in recent days, which of course is the re-election of President Donald Trump. which is an event of huge significance, not only for Canada, but for many of the countries attending that APEC conference. You only need to think, for example, of Mexico, a country with a very large trade relationship with the United States, a more unbalanced trade relationship, and one that's often mentioned by people in MAGA and Trump world as one of the main targets of the tariffs that they're thinking of bringing in. But of course, the number one target of those tariffs would be China, which will also be present at the APEC summit, and we'll be looking to discuss with President Biden what exactly all of this means for China coming up. But there's other countries there too for whom Donald Trump's election represents an enormous challenge. For one is Taiwan. Taiwan, a country that feels very threatened by the People's Republic of China and depends on U.S. security guarantees. It has been concerned in the past that with Donald Trump, those guarantees might go away, that it could be more exposed to a potential invasion in the future. And there are other countries too, such as the Philippines, Japan, and Vietnam, all of which have territorial disputes with China. So this is a summit where countries are going to be looking for reassurance from a lame duck president, Joe Biden, who knows that in 2 months he's going to be replaced by the highly unpredictable Donald Trump. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
I'm Briar Stewart in Latvia, where Canada is leading a newly formed multinational brigade in an effort to bolster defenses along NATO's eastern flank. In the forest near Riga, Latvia, military training in a country that shares a nearly 300-kilometer-long border with Russia.
I'm in a Lab 6, a Canadian light armored vehicle, and the military is taking us out to take part in one of their exercises. They're basically simulating what it would be like to try to recapture territory from an enemy.
This large NATO exercise started at the beginning of November. It involves 3,500 troops from 13 different countries, more than half Canadian.
So this is all part of the command post?
This is all part of the command post.
Like many troops, Captain Harrison Burrows is here as part of a 6-month rotation. This is the first exercise to take place since the military forces here were scaled up to a brigade.
I would say 50%, or if not more, of things that you see here today weren't actually here earlier this summer.
A major goal of the training is getting different units from different countries working together. Canada has committed to lead the NATO forces here until 2026. The country's chief of defense staff believes the deployment will last beyond that.
I think considering the actions of Russia and what's going on, in terms of threat, we can expect Canada to be here for a long time.
These exercises come at a potentially perilous time for the alliance. Donald Trump will soon take over the Oval Office again. He's repeatedly warned that if NATO countries don't pay their fair share, they would be left to their own defenses.
No doubt he will push us again to do more, to take a bigger share of the burden, which is only fair.
NATO defense spending has surged since the start of Russia's war in Ukraine. But Canada isn't expected to meet the 2% of GDP target for another 8 years. And NATO officials say the minimum is going to have to be set much higher if troops are going to be able to respond to all the threats beyond the borders. Briar Stewart, CBC News, near Riga, Latvia.
Taylor Swift's Eras Tour arrives in Toronto tonight. Hundreds of thousands of Swifties are expected to visit the city over the course of the concert run. City police say they have planned a major security operation to deal with the influx of fans. Swift will play 6 shows in Toronto before her tour wraps up next month in Vancouver.
Chris Potter will join us right after the break for more on weather, and we will look ahead to your weekend forecast. We'll find out how long you got to hold on to those umbrellas for. Stay with us. Chris Potter is back now for a look at our weather forecast. And Chris, I don't know if it stopped raining like at all today. Like I think it hasn't stopped.
Yeah, I mean, rainfall moved in last night as expected. It was steadiest just before daybreak, and it was still steady and light and widespread through much of the morning, or pretty much the entire morning for that matter, Kat, and then into the afternoon. It is starting to dry out just a touch, but there's still some shower activity building back in from the west, moving in from lower Michigan, that will trickle back across the Windsor area. So once again, if you're heading out for this evening, please have your umbrella with you. In terms of temperatures, we'll start there because it was a touch above normal, nothing dramatic, close to 10. The normal is 8.6. The normal overnight low is closer to 1, and we held near 6.5. That number won't really fluctuate that much. We're looking at above normal temperatures for lows, especially for those overnight lows over the next couple of nights, and daytime highs will be in the double digits. Not the 20s, I'm afraid, if that's what you're craving, but at least we'll be in the double digits. Temperatures right now at 9, right now in Windsor, 7 in Sarnia, 5 in Barrie. And in terms of what we are getting closer to home, there's about a 5-degree spread, 5 to almost 10 degrees. The rainfall once again has moved out of Windsor, continues to fall across London. But if you look at this wide area of rainfall, it is starting to lose just a little bit of organization. This will continue to be the trend. So those areas east of Windsor and towards London will start to dry out. But once again, there's still some showers starting to drift back in towards the Windsor area. This is all thanks to a large area of low pressure that extends southeast all the way towards the mid-Atlantic states. But see this big void? That's what's set to move back in as we head into the day for you on Saturday, and for that matter into Sunday for the most part. So in terms of how things will play out, we will be drying out in terms of the rainfall through the late evening and overnight, but it's still going to be damp. What I mean by that, you can feel it once you step outside. Similar story tomorrow morning. You're going to feel the dampness in the air. Humidity levels will be quite high. Temperatures won't really dramatically change during the course of the day. We'll probably only climb a couple of degrees from the morning to the afternoon. Cloud cover continues to lock in through the afternoon. It does look like by the evening we'll start to lose a lot of that cloud cover. High pressure begins to wedge in, and that will establish mostly sunshine on average for the day on your Saturday. Looks like a great day to get out and enjoy. The winds will be light, generally coming in from the north, and we'll hold on to mostly clear and dry conditions through the evening, the overnight into Sunday. We do start to cloud back over, but it does not look like rainy weather will be moving in until pretty much the late evening, maybe into the overnight. In terms of overnight lows, not so low, closer to the normal daytime high for this time of year, anywhere from 7 to 9 degrees. Once again, locked in with cloud cover. Similar story for tomorrow. The only chance of any shower activity will be off the southern shores of Lake Huron thanks to that northerly wind. Nothing's dramatic, just a couple of drops of rain towards Sarnia. 11 degrees your high for Friday as well as Saturday into Sunday. Climbing up to 14. Kat, it looks fantastic. 13 for us on Monday. Will become mostly sunny, and then we cloud back over for Tuesday.
Love that weekend. Thanks for that, Chris. And thanks to you all for watching. Have a fabulous evening. See you tomorrow.